The picturesque town of Dharmasthala, nestled in the western Ghats of Karnataka, was shaken to its core on October 9, 2012. The lifeless body of 17-year-old Soujanya was found in a secluded spot near the Nethravathi River. A student of SDM College, Soujanya was last seen alive the previous evening. Her brutalized body bore the marks of sexual assault, sending shockwaves through the community. The police launched an investigation. Their initial efforts, however, seemed haphazard and superficial. Crucial evidence was mishandled. Witnesses were not thoroughly questioned. Public trust in the local police began to erode. The community demanded answers. The murder of a young girl in a place considered sacred shook the conscience of the people. Soujanya's family, devastated and broken, pleaded for justice. They refused to believe that their daughter's killer would go unpunished. The stage was set for a long and arduous fight for truth. The gruesome nature of Soujanya's murder sparked outrage and fear in equal measure. Protest marches became a daily occurrence in Dharmasthala. Students, activists, and concerned citizens demanded a thorough and impartial investigation. The incompetence displayed by the local police fueled the public's anger. The cry for justice resonated beyond the town's borders. The case gained national attention, with media scrutiny adding to the pressure on the authorities. The demand for a CBI inquiry grew louder by the day. The people had lost faith in the local police, believing them to be either incompetent or complicit in a cover-up. The protests were not merely about finding Soujanya's killer. They represented a deeper malaise, a growing distrust of the system's ability to protect its own. The public sentiment was clear: justice delayed is justice denied. They would not rest until Soujanya's killers were brought to book. As public anger mounted, whispers of a powerful family's involvement began to surface. This family, closely associated with the influential Dharmasthala temple, wielded considerable influence in the region. Allegations of their involvement in land grabbing, illegal mining, and other nefarious activities were rampant. The family's influence, it was alleged, extended to the police and the local administration. People whispered about witnesses being intimidated and evidence being tampered with. The fear was palpable, but the desire for justice was stronger. The community, though apprehensive, was determined to expose the truth, no matter how powerful the perpetrators. The alleged involvement of this powerful family added a sinister layer to the case. It brought to the fore the stark reality of power dynamics in India. Could a system riddled with corruption and nepotism ever deliver justice to a common man? The police investigation, already marred by public distrust, began to unravel under scrutiny. Contradictory statements, botched forensic reports, and a general lack of professionalism plagued the investigation. The crime scene was compromised. Crucial evidence, including Soujanya's clothes and belongings, went missing. The forensic reports were inconclusive. The DNA samples collected from the crime scene did not match any suspects. The police theory of the crime kept changing, further eroding public trust. It seemed as though the investigators were more interested in protecting influential figures than in finding the real culprits. The mishandling of the investigation raised serious questions about the competence and integrity of the local police. Was it a case of gross negligence, or were they deliberately trying to shield the real perpetrators? The public's demand for a CBI inquiry grew stronger with each passing day. Section 5. A Shadow of Doubt. The arrest of Santosh Rao. Under immense pressure to show progress, the police arrested Santosh Rao, a mentally challenged youth, for Soujanya's murder. Santosh, a drifter who frequented the area, was an easy target. He was incapable of defending himself, and had no one to speak up for him. The evidence against Santosh was flimsy at best, circumstantial at worst. Eyewitnesses claimed to have seen him near the crime scene, but their testimonies were contradictory and unreliable. The police, however, presented him as the prime suspect, claiming he had confessed to the crime. Santosh's family vehemently denied his involvement. They argued that he was incapable of such brutality and was being framed to protect the real culprits. The public, already skeptical of the police, saw Santosh's arrest as a desperate attempt to mislead the investigation. Section 6. Unmasking the Truth. Girish Mutana's Revelations. Girish Mutana, a former policeman with a reputation for honesty and integrity, took it upon himself to investigate the case. Mutana was no stranger to controversy. He had previously locked horns with powerful figures in his pursuit of justice. His investigation into Soujanya's murder would prove to be no different. Mutana's findings were explosive. He alleged that Soujanya's murder was linked to a powerful land mafia operating in the region. He claimed that this mafia had ties to influential politicians and businessmen, including those close to the Dharmasthala family. He accused the local police of being complicit in the cover-up, shielding the real culprits to protect their powerful patrons. Mutana's revelations sent shockwaves through Karnataka. He had dared to challenge the nexus of power that controlled the region. His findings, though explosive, were based on meticulous research and corroborated by witness testimonies and circumstantial evidence. Section 7, A Glimmer of Hope, Then Darkness, the CBI investigation. After months of relentless protests and mounting public pressure, the case was finally handed over to the Central Bureau of Investigation, the CBI. The public believed that this move would bring a fresh perspective and a renewed sense of urgency to the investigation. The CBI, with its reputation for independence and thoroughness, was seen as the last hope for justice. People felt that the agency's involvement would finally uncover the truth and bring the culprits to justice. The public's hopes were high, but their optimism would soon turn to despair. The initial excitement and anticipation began to wane as time passed without any significant breakthroughs. The CBI investigation, however, seemed to be going around in circles. Despite their best efforts, the investigators found themselves hitting the same roadblocks repeatedly. They questioned the same witnesses, examined the same evidence, and arrived at the same dead ends. Each new lead seemed to fizzle out, leaving the investigators and the public increasingly frustrated. The initial hope that the CBI would conduct a fair and impartial investigation soon gave way to disillusionment. The public began to lose faith in the agency's ability to solve the case. The agency seemed to be as clueless as the local police. The lack of progress was disheartening, and the once hopeful public now viewed the CBI with skepticism. Years passed, but the CBI failed to make any significant headway. The case that had once been a beacon of hope now seemed destined to remain unsolved. The public's perception of the CBI changed from that of a savior to another pawn in the hands of the powerful. The agency's inability to crack the case led to widespread criticism and disappointment. The case, once a symbol of hope and resilience, became a stark reminder of the limitations of justice in a system riddled with corruption and influence. It highlighted the challenges faced by even the most reputed investigative agencies in delivering justice. Section 8, A Travesty of Justice, the Court's Verdict. In a shocking turn of events, the CBI, in a complete U-turn, named Santosh Rao as the sole accused in Soujanya's murder. They claimed to have found new evidence linking him to the crime, but they failed to produce any concrete proof. The so-called evidence was circumstantial at best, leaving many questions unanswered. The case went to trial, but the prosecution's case was weak and riddled with inconsistencies. Witnesses were unreliable, and key testimonies were contradictory. On September 13, 2024, the Karnataka High Court acquitted Santosh Rao, citing lack of evidence. The decision was met with mixed reactions. The court, however, acknowledged the lapses in the initial police investigation and recommended action against the erring officers. This was a small consolation for those seeking justice. The verdict was a slap in the face of justice. It highlighted the systemic issues within the judicial process. It was a victory for the powerful and a crushing defeat for those who had fought tirelessly for Soujanya. The community was left in despair. The court's verdict was met with widespread condemnation. Activists and citizens alike voiced their outrage. People saw it as a travesty of justice, a clear indication that the powerful were above the law. The public's trust in the legal system was severely shaken. The family, devastated and broken, vowed to continue their fight. They refused to let Soujanya's memory fade away. They knew that the battle was far from over. Their resolve was stronger than ever, and they were determined to seek justice no matter how long it took. Section 9. A Fight Unfinished. The Unrelenting Pursuit of Truth. The acquittal of Santosh Rao has done little to quell the public's anger and suspicion. The streets are filled with voices demanding accountability and transparency. The demand for a fresh investigation, one that is free from political interference and pressure, is growing louder by the day. People from all walks of life are uniting in their call for justice. Social media is abuzz with calls for justice, with hashtags like Justice for Soujanya and Who Killed Soujanya trending regularly. The digital realm has become a powerful tool for mobilizing support and spreading awareness. The fight for justice for Soujanya is not just about a single murder anymore. It has evolved into a broader movement that challenges the very foundations of the justice system. It has become a symbol of the larger fight against corruption, abuse of power, and the systemic failure to protect the vulnerable. The public's resolve is unwavering. It is a battle for the soul of India, a test of whether truth and justice can prevail over power and influence. The nation's conscience is at stake. The case remains a blot on the conscience of Karnataka. The state's reputation is marred by this unresolved tragedy. It serves as a chilling reminder of the fragility of justice and the long shadow of power. The echoes of this case reverberate through the corridors of power. The fight for Soujanya is far from over. The determination of the people is a testament to their unwavering spirit. It is a fight that will continue until the truth is unearthed and the guilty are brought to book. The journey for justice is long, but the resolve is stronger.